Roger Stone here. Every day you wait, your money loses value, but gold and silver don't follow those same rules. American Sovereign Bullion gives you access to a nationwide wholesaler network, helping you secure aggressive pricing on real physical metals. Call 844-272-2428 now to get your free gold and silver guide to learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver, delivered right to your door or with a gold IRA. Visit asbgold.com. That's asbgold.com for your free gold and silver guide today.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi. Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, it is the calm before the storm. A lot of things are going to be happening very, very soon. And we are also feeling the rumblings. Now, some of us know that this has been going on for a long time, and none of it really surprises me, but the fact that it's really about to happen is kind of interesting and surprising and gratifying. In 2016, President Obama spied on President Trump's campaign. He did. And this was substantiated. We know what happened, even though for years, when you would say something like that, it was considered the most, just outlandish. Oh, here goes President Trump again. No, that makes no sense. What is he even talking about? They'd roll their eyes. This is where I go back to that almost divine insight I had. I think it was 2013 or so when I was trying to do an impression of President Trump. It was for Halloween, actually. Back then, POTUS was in the news, even if he wasn't running for president, but it might have been even earlier, 2011. That whole thing about the birther, right? And, was President Trump, or Donald Trump was questioning whether Barack Hussein Obama was born in the United States or not. Do you remember that? And I just became fascinated by him, and I really studied him. And he was in the news so much that on Good Day New York, a show I was hosting at the time for Halloween, we were going to do a skit, and I always design the skits myself, and that's one of the reasons why they were so good. In fact, they weren't always so good. I remember the very first time I was on that show, the very first Halloween, and they did the dumbest thing in the world, and I'm like, okay, I'm never going to let that happen to me again, and I took over the production of it. And all of them were just so great from that point forward, 2010, 2011, 2012, all the years I was there, except for the first year. Anyway, I just studied President Trump a lot, and I was sounding out like his personality with a friend of mine. And I'm like, there's something about this guy. I just can't put my finger on it. I just, the way he talks, and I'm not just talking about his accent or anything like that. I'm talking, and the guy said, well, he's always right. That was the key. He's always right. And there hasn't been a time since then where, like, you know what, he really shouldn't have said that, or you know what, that was wrong, or you know what, boy, oh boy, did he get that one wrong. And so I go back to, they spied on my campaign. They did. They spied on the campaign. Now and you know how they did that, right? They had an FBI, Comey and others, lie on a warrant, because to get a warrant, to get a wiretap, you need a judge's permission. But this was for a corrupt cause. They were making up stuff about Russia. And they were actually looking for stuff unrelated to Russia. Let's see if we can get them on anything. We'll use Russia as a pretext. So they lied on the application. They lied to the judge. And somebody was convicted for this. They lied to the judge. The FBI lied to the judge on an application for a warrant. That's a big deal. And they got their warrant, and then they started spying on the Trump campaign. We still don't know the full extent, like how many communications, that kind of thing. And now years later, Bill Barr acknowledged it. Yeah, I think it was spying. Bill Barr, for that wonderful, brief, shining moment where he was, a patriot armed with the Constitution. And then he became a swamp rat concerned that he would be the only attorney general ever impeached. These days you can wear the scorn of the swamp and the dominant media as a badge of honor. You don't want their accolades. You don't want their approval. You want their reprobation. Do me a favor. Let's go ahead. This is James Clapper. Another guy who was initially always chuckling, oh, we spy. We didn't spy. Spy? Well, I guess you could call it. It was spying. The government spied on President Trump, and that is worse than Watergate. It's totally worse than Watergate. What was Watergate? It wasn't the government. It was operatives, campaign operatives. Now it was not government. It's different, and that's why it's worse than Watergate. And people still don't understand that. So here's James Clapper, the director of national intelligence. He got there. I think Bush put him there, and then he stayed under the Obama. Go ahead.
Director, here's what the president tweeted this morning. He said, wow, word seems to be coming out that the Obama FBI spied on the Trump campaign with an embedded informant. If so, this is bigger than Watergate. I mean, that is an extraordinary claim. And based on your experience, what is the likelihood that it's true?
They may have had someone who was talking to them in the campaign, but the focus here, and as it was with the intelligence community, is not on the campaign per se, but what the Russians were doing to try to instantiate themselves in the campaign or to influence or leverage it.
Stop. You catch what just happened there? Well, they may have had somebody talking. That's the acknowledgement right there. Well, they may have had somebody talking. And then he realizes that, no, you're not going to be able to get away from this word spy. All right. It goes on all the shows because he's pushing a book. He wrote a book, a fake book about all this stuff. He said the stuff he saw of Russian intelligence was worse than anything he saw in Vietnam. Not that this guy saw anything in Vietnam. Keep going.
So if there was someone that was observing that sort of thing, well, that's a good thing.
Was the FBI spying on Trump's campaign?
No, they were not. They were spying on a term I don't particularly like, but on what the Russians were doing, trying to understand, were the Russians infiltrating, trying to gain access, trying to gain leverage and influence.
So why doesn't he like
what they do?
So why doesn't he like that? He should be happy that.
Well, he should be. This is a fairly benign tool available to the FBI, given all the other capabilities available to them. And what has been described that he did was pretty mild.
There's never been anything like it in the history of our country. If you look at Clapper, he sort of admitted that they had spies in the campaign yesterday inadvertently, but I hope it's not true, but it looks like it is. Can you explain what the FBI's intent was here, and is the president misunderstanding?
Well, first of all, I have an aversion to the use of the word spy, but let's just, for the sake of discussion, use that term, which conventionally means the use of tradecraft, using a formally trained case officer who would mask identity, who would attempt to recruit. So none of the classical attributes of spycraft, if I can use that term, were present here. This is the most benign form of information gathering. So to characterize it as a spy or spygate is, of course, part of the narrative. I'm sure it wasn't.
Was it spying?
Well, yeah, I guess it meets the dictionary definition of surveillance or spying, a term I don't particularly like. It's not a term of art used by intelligence people. It has a negative connotation of a rogue operation, out of control, not in compliance with the law, and that's not the case at all.
Yeah, we lied to a judge to get him on our side. Therefore, we were in, quote-unquote, compliance with the law. Oh, I mean, yeah, it's spying, but believe me, we could do a lot worse. Like, what else do you have in mind? What else could you do? Poison darts? I mean, what are you getting at here? All right. I mean, what is the power of the FBI when you get right down to it? Surveillance, right? And apprehension and arrest, right? Investigative, apprehension, arrest. They don't prosecute. What these punks, these bums, and they somehow are kind of protected by this notion that they are the good guys. They're not. They're awful. And I think this thing it's all coming out right now. And a lot of people are going to become, I don't know though, because there's such resistance, and you could put the truth right in front of somebody and they'll say, well, the Virginia Supreme Court has thrown out the April election results that delivered Dems 4 House seats. Voters said yes. A MAGA court said no. Dems have now lost 4 more seats in addition to the 25 plus we may now lose because of last week's SCOTUS decision to allow red states to eliminate black districts. This is exactly what happens when MAGA controls. This is from the Defend Our Courts thing. That's great. Defendor. It's a great write-up. But it's on the other side. This is exactly what happens when MAGA controls state Supreme Courts. Defend Our Courts has been saying this since day one. Virginia just proved it. Here's where we stand right now. We are 2-0. We helped Dems win the Pennsylvania and now they're back to the MAGA. And Pennsylvania and Wisconsin Supreme Court elections. Both states now have the blue Supreme Court majorities. Now Georgia's Supreme Court election is just 8 days away. 2 MAGA judges are on the ballot. They shielded Trump from charges for trying to steal Georgia in election. Winning these races sets up Dems to completely flip the Georgia Supreme Court in 28, just months before the next presidential election. If we lose Georgia, it becomes Virginia. It is an uphill fight getting voters to come out for these obscure but critical judicial races, and we need your help, and then they're looking for money. Hey, I love their panicking. Larry, how are you in Tampa, Florida? Yes, sir.
Hi, Colonel Kelly. Thank you for taking my call. And you and I might tend to agree with Captain Kelly if it weren't such an anachronism. Because of shocking the conscience, I can give you an instance that may well have shocked his conscience, but because he was politically motivated, he stood down. Where the ICE, maybe people during the Biden administration, were instructed not to guard the borders. And I think that might have shocked your conscience as well as mine. And that might have been an instance that Captain Kelly might have felt duty-bound to come by. I think it was incumbent upon him to speak up at that time. And because it's Trump and not Biden, now he wants to say, since everything they view as being illegal that Trump does, this is just one more thing for the troops not to follow his instructions. So I think it's treason.
Well, the whole thing about the border being open, shocking the conscience, yeah, that is kind of shocking when you look at it. You know, it is shocking. But look, shocking the conscience, is it really? Look, was I ever shocked? Honestly, were you ever shocked? I mean, it was shocking, but did it ever shock the conscience? Did we ever oh my God, what did I just see, and have nightmares about it? That's the kind of thing we're talking about with a war crime, right? Something so in your face crazy. You know, if there's a budget battle and they're told to stand down, or you know what I mean? And they Mayorkas up there invoking all those, he was very much fooling people, very much deceptive, but did it shock my conscience? I think you're stretching it a little bit. I like it, but you know what I mean? I think that stretches the definition a little bit.
When the murders occurred, as a result of allowing...
I understand, but I mean, that's now we get into crazy... I don't want to play their game, all right, when it comes to following orders or following illegal orders, all right? You can't take it, okay, once removed, then they let people in, and then 3 weeks later they killed somebody. I mean, that's awful, right? But it's very logical. And I don't know, I mean, as bad as it wasn't shocking to me. It wasn't shocking. And I don't even know what you're saying. I mean, it wasn't an order to, what's his name, Kelly there, right? It wasn't an order to open the border. I mean, it was a Biden administration thing. It was an executive branch thing. So, no, I think we got to shock the conscience what it is, a shocking thing that would really move, and you're talking about anybody, man, anybody from any walk of life. If you take somebody who hasn't seen the border and you just put them down there and watching the border and they don't know what's going on, they're not going to be shocked by pretty much anything they see. Unless somebody gets their head chopped off, and then they're going to be shocked. I hope that makes sense. Appreciate you. Be right back.
77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201 801-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.